Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Thursday, January 28th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Amitha Sharma, in for Maya Trabulsi. A Coronado man stands accused of taking part in the attack on the U.S. Capitol. Today, he faced a federal judge after being arrested by the FBI. KPBS reporter Steve Walsh was at the federal courthouse.
Jeffrey Alexander Smith is a 33-year-old Army veteran who spent one tour in Iraq, according to his family. Living in Coronado with his parents, he went to Washington, D.C. for the January 6th rally that turned into the siege of the Capitol. His attorney, John Rice, says he was caught up in the moment.
I think many of the people there will tell you they were kind of swept up in the moment. I think there was a large crowd, there was a lot of excitement, and he just kind of went along with the crowd.
Federal prosecutors are now charging Smith with 2 misdemeanor counts after he admitted participating in the siege. In court in San Diego Thursday, prosecutors say he and another person moved aside 3 benches and then entered with a large group, then roamed through the Capitol building for more than half an hour, at one point posting a video on Instagram.
He walked in with hundreds, if not thousands of others. No allegations. He destroyed any property, committed any violence.
Smith's mother and sister appeared in court. The magistrate allowed Smith to be released on a $25,000 bond, his only past record being a restraining order put in place 2 years ago during a divorce. He is allowed to travel to Colorado Springs to be near his 2 young children. The case is based in the Washington, D.C. Circuit Court, where Smith may stand trial, part of a larger probe into violence during the January 6th storming of the Capitol. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
Now more on the battle to curb the coronavirus and get the vaccine into the arms of all San Diegans. And while we may be seeing a slight decrease in the number of cases, it's the death toll that continues to be high. Today, 69 more deaths and more than 1,400 new cases were reported. And healthcare is at the forefront today for the Biden administration as lawmakers continue to push a COVID stimulus deal. Daryl Forges has the latest from Washington.
Another day, another stroke of the pen.
It's been a busy week.
President Biden signing a round of executive actions, this time on healthcare. The actions, in part, reopen enrollment on the Affordable Care Act exchanges, allowing some uninsured Americans to access Obamacare policies, while also providing federal assistance to pay for health care.
Of all times that we need to reinstate access to, affordability of, and extent of access to Medicaid is now, in the middle of this COVID crisis.
As President Biden continues to use his executive powers, negotiations between the White House and Congress continue for Biden's $1.9 trillion COVID stimulus package.
Got a lot to do, and the first thing I got to do is get this COVID package passed.
President Biden wanting bipartisan support, but many Republicans say the bill is too big.
We have a 50-50 Senate. We have a House that is very narrowly divided at this point. That should really be a mandate for moving to the middle, but that's not what we have going on now with this large proposal.
I'd support trimming it very narrowly, but it really cannot be delayed. We have a window of days, not weeks.
To quickly pass COVID relief, Democrats may push the bill through the reconciliation process, but Democrats will have to be fully united. It's an option House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says she'll use if bipartisan talks continue to stall.
I hope we don't need it, but if needed, we will have it.
In Washington, Daryl Forges, KPBS News.
State officials say California's planned switch to an age-based eligibility system for the coronavirus vaccine is meant to simplify and streamline the process. The state intends to make the change once frontline workers like healthcare professionals and seniors 65 and older have been vaccinated. But infectious disease specialist Dr. Mark Sawyer, who sits on the state advisory board that reviews COVID-19 vaccines, says that doesn't mean that essential workers like bus drivers and supermarket employees will be left behind if they don't meet the new age rules.
There may be some fine-tuning of this age-based recommendation that will make sure that people who are on the front line who can't have the luxury of working from home will go get the vaccine in a timely fashion.
Sawyer added that wearing masks and socially distancing as well as getting vaccinated are more important than ever in the wake of new COVID variants.
The more cases we have, the more opportunity there is for the virus to change and mutate and become a variant and become less susceptible to the vaccine. So it's incumbent on us to try to get this pandemic under control.
At least one San Diego County resident has died from the UK COVID variant. We have all the latest information on vaccines at kpbs.org. You can also find locations to get a shot and links to make an appointment online. Today, San Diego County reported 69 more deaths and more than 1,400 new cases. As KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman tells us, officials addressed frustrations with scheduling vaccination appointments and the local appearance of a fast-spreading variant.
We are taking the necessary steps to streamline the process for appointment setting, and this goes hand in hand with the expansion of vaccine distribution and making sure that we have the right infrastructure set as we proceed.
After rainy weather closed the Petco Park vaccination superstation earlier this week, county officials have been working to make up appointments.
I know all of those appointment schedules for those days are being honored. Some will be on today, and some of those will be on Saturday.
This morning, we saw long lines of cars filled with people eager to get vaccinated. Right now, vaccinations at county sites are only available for those 65 and over, healthcare workers, and first responders.
The biggest complaint we get is people say, I can't get an appointment. And the minute that they are made available, they are gone.
To book an appointment at the downtown location or the superstation in Chula Vista, people have to use the county's website. But for other county-sponsored sites, you have to schedule appointments through the state's myturn.ca.gov platform.
You know, we're doing our best. We're listening, and we're making sure that we are able to adjust these slides as we hear from our communities.
To make it a little easier, soon all testing appointments from a county site will be booked through the state's MyTurn platform. A new vaccination superstation launching this Sunday at Cal State San Marcos in the North County will also use MyTurn.
We will begin taking appointments on Saturday, and we will begin administering vaccines on Sunday.
Some 269,000 vaccine doses have been put into San Diegans' arms so far. There are still some questions about the vaccination supply chain, but officials are moving forward aggressively, hoping to add 6 smaller vaccination pods next month.
And we have to do this all with the presence and awareness that a new, more contagious strain is in San Diego County.
Officials believe a 71-year-old died from a more contagious variant of COVID-19 that's been traced back to the United Kingdom. Some 150 suspected cases of the B.1.1.7 variant have been found in San Diego County.
That's a small number compared to the total number of cases in the county, but we do think that number is increasing, may represent 1% to 2% of all the cases that are out there. The potential impact of that could be seen in a surge later in February and into March.
Transit officials announced today that MTS will begin giving free rides to those who can show proof of a vaccination appointment. Countywide, there has been a slight downtrend in hospitalizations and intensive care unit admissions, but those numbers still remain high. And to get out of the purple tier restrictions, we need to see daily case counts go down significantly. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
Mother Nature will turn on the faucet again. We're going to be under a flash flood watch from 7 tonight until 4 tomorrow afternoon. This storm won't bring as much moisture as last weekend's storm, and it won't be as cold. But as KPBS reporter John Carroll tells us, it will leave its mark in good ways and some not so good.
Rain and a bit of snow is once again on its way to San Diego County. National Weather Service meteorologist Alex Tardy says it should roll into the county around 10 tonight.
It'll first come into North County and then pretty quickly fill into downtown San Diego. So I would say most of the rain is going to be when everyone's asleep.
Tardy says tomorrow morning's commute will be difficult, so remember to keep more space than usual between you and other vehicles. The Farmers Insurance Open Golf Tournament began today at Torrey Pines. There are no spectators this year thanks to COVID, and there likely won't be any players on the course Friday. Tournaments can play in rain, but PGA rules say play stops if water starts to puddle on the course, and it looks like we'll have enough rain for that to happen.
Most people will see 1.5 inches of rain. So 1.5 inches of rain is more rain than what we've even seen in most places this entire winter.
Another concern, areas that were hit by fire in the past year or so. Too much rain means potentially dangerous mudslides.
There will be some mud that moves around over in the Valley fire scar in East County, east of Alpine. I don't think it'll be life-threatening or necessarily damaging type.
We're halfway through our rainy season, and Tardy says we've only gotten about 30% of average precipitation. This storm and another smaller one that should arrive the middle of next week will help.
After this storm, it should put a big dent into it, but it won't get us back to normal or average. It won't be enough.
Long range, Tardy says we're looking to stay fairly dry.
It continues to look like a winter where we have 1 or 2 storms in a week, and then we go 3 weeks with very little. Usually when you're in those type of winters, you fall short.
Fortunately, this story can end on a positive note because of what's happening to our north. Tardy says the coming storms will take the snowpack from Mammoth up to Tahoe from about 25% of average to 75%. Of course, when that snow melts, a lot of that water is delivered to Southern California. John Carroll, KPBS News.
We'll have more on the storm and when it's expected to arrive coming up in your complete forecast. Congresswoman Sarah Jacobs is touring different vaccination clinics in the county to get a better idea of how the federal government can help. This morning, Jacobs visited Rady Children's Community Vaccination Clinic, then the South-based Superstation in the afternoon. Jacobs says the government needs to stay on top of the delivery of vaccines so the county can plan ahead.
Of the problem now is even when there are doses, they don't necessarily know there'll be enough the next week or the next month, and so they can't do that forward planning that allows them to book lots of appointments.
Jacobs says part of her focus now will be to push for more COVID-19 relief funding for these operations. She also plans on getting more money for childcare and childcare providers. Public officials are using inconsistent methods to track inmates who've died from COVID-19. The issues have led to some deaths going uncounted. iNews Source investigative reporter Sophia Mejias Pasco has the story.
We found mistakes and delays in Southern California and at the state level. Among the problems, 3 prison inmates who died from COVID-19 in San Diego County appear to be uncounted locally. And the first known San Diego County jail death has yet to be acknowledged by the Sheriff's Department or reported to the state oversight board that tracks deaths from the virus. UCLA professor Sharon Dolovich has been tracking COVID-19 deaths among inmates across the country. Dolovich says prisons and jails have a strong interest in downplaying the spread of the virus. She says because of that, numbers on COVID-19 deaths reported by officials are likely a dramatic undercount.
If you can say, we have 2 COVID positive cases and 1 COVID death, you're much less likely to get public scrutiny and criticism than if it turns out you have, 50% of your population is infected and you've had 12 people die.
iNews Source also found counties use inconsistent methods to count inmates who die from the virus. That complicates disease management. Experts who monitor inmate deaths say that puts inmates, staff, and the public at risk. For KPBS, I'm iNews Source investigative reporter Sophia Mejias Pasco.
iNews Source reporter Mary Plummer co-reported this story. iNews Source is an independently funded nonprofit partner of KPBS. The passage of SB 1421 in 2018 was hailed as a watershed moment for police accountability and government transparency in California. The law says police have to make public records of officer shootings and the use of force. But 3 years later, KPBS investigative reporter Claire Trageser says San Diego police agencies are still holding on to hundreds of records that should be released under the law. A warning, this story contains graphic images.
The 2016 Holiday Bowl did not end well for Jason Walker. During the game, he got into a shoving match with a man sitting behind him. Things got even worse when the police showed up.
I was backing up, I was like, that guy grabbed me, like, looking at the guy, I was like, that guy grabbed me, and then putting my hands up in the air, and then they shot me with a taser. And a woman yelled, "You don't need to taser him," as I was shot. I remember that. But then, they just threw some handcuffs on me and trotted me out of the stadium.
Walker spent thousands on a lawyer to get charges of battery on a police officer dismissed. He then sued the city and agreed to a $1,000 settlement. But 4 years later, he still can't get the police internal affairs investigation records related to his case.
California law states that when an officer is dishonest or uses excessive force, you can, get these personnel records pursuant to SB 1421. So I've been trying to get these personnel records.
He may be waiting a long time. The law, known as Senate Bill 1421, is meant to shine a light on internal police investigations of officer shootings and use of force. But 3 years after it was passed, the records are still slow in coming. The San Diego Police Department has only released about a third of the required records. The Sheriff's Department, half.
Well, SB 1421 said to the agency, you must respond. But what does that mean? A timely response? What does that mean? Obviously, some agencies decided that a timely response is a year or 2 years later.
State Senator Nancy Skinner wrote the law and is now proposing new legislation, SB 16, that aims to fix this records delay problem.
So what we've done in SB 16 is given a time certain you must respond by X date, or the requester can take you to court and basically, get penalties.
After 75 days, agencies would begin being fined $1,000 a day for every day records are not released. Skinner expects it to pass this year. Officials with the San Diego Police Department and the San Diego County Sheriff's Department say they're releasing the records as fast as they can. They declined interviews with KPBS, but sent statements saying the process is very time-consuming and involves thousands of pages plus hours of video and audio. Captain Jeff Jordan with the San Diego Police Department wrote, quote, "As SDPD works back in time, many of the files are not in a digital format and are recorded on technologies no longer in use, such as VCR tapes. This makes producing records much harder and more time-consuming." A statement by the San Diego County Sheriff's Department spokesman also said the process is too time-consuming. Matthew Hallgren, a First Amendment attorney at Shepard Mullen, says these arguments miss the point of SB 1421.
So instead of viewing this as some special requirement that has been imposed on them, if they view it as just part of their mission and something that they need to devote their resources to, just like they would any other program, then maybe that will help them prioritize this in the way that it should be.
Hallgren represented KPBS and other media outlets when police unions unsuccessfully tried to block release of SB 1421 records. As part of the settlement agreement, San Diego Police agreed to turn over all its records, video and audio, by this June. Will they make the deadline? Jordan would say only the department, quote, believes it will be in substantial compliance of the settlement terms. Meanwhile, the Sheriff's Department doesn't have the same hard deadline, but Hallgren says time is up. Under the California Public Records Act, records must be released at the very latest within 24 days.
The media and other requesters of public records are not unreasonable. And so if an agency needs a little bit more time, that's usually fine. But it's been more than 2 years now. And so, and 2 years is a lot more than 24 days. So really, they should be wrapping this process up.
Claire Tregesser, KPBS News.
To explore the database of police internal records, go to kpbs.org/force. Dr. Shirley Weber is making history as California's new Secretary of State. The Democratic Assembly member from San Diego was confirmed by the state Senate today. Weber is the first Black person to hold the position. She taught Africana Studies at San Diego State University for more than 4 decades and was first elected to the state assembly in 2012. Governor Gavin Newsom nominated Weber to replace Alex Padilla, who took over Vice President Kamala Harris's seat in the U.S. Senate. Poway Unified is going forward with bringing some students back to campus. Starting February 1st, elementary and special ed students will return to in-school learning. Students choosing to stay home can still receive online learning. The district says the state is requiring it to hold back on middle and high school students returning until the county is in the red tier.
We are still working on bringing in that storm system that's going to provide us with some very wet times as we go through tonight and into early tomorrow morning. So basically the story is overnight when we see the rain and even the snow. Mountain snowfall certainly possible here. We have winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings in some locations. You know the usual spots as you get above, say, about 5,000 feet. That's where we really start to notice some of that snow impact. Beyond that, though, everyone will be dealing with the rain. The exception, some of the deserts, they won't see as much rainfall, just a few spotty showers out there. We could even have a few rumbles of thunder as we head through tonight and into tomorrow. So overall, again, the clouds working in, the rain working in. Oceanside 49 for your low. Certainly on the cooler side of things, Mount Laguna coming in the lower 30s with the chance for the snow. Here it is, the storm working its way in. It's kind of a slow mover, so as we get into tonight, that's when we really start to notice that heavy rain move its way on through with the front, and then we start to see more of the spotty showers, even a few rumbles of thunder continuing on the backside into early tomorrow morning. Tomorrow, this storm works its way through the interior southwest. As it does so, it brings some dry air to northern and central California, but we don't get that just yet. We keep the clouds, we keep the cool weather, and we also keep some of the unsettled patterns. So there's still going to be some showers around Chula Vista, temperatures in the mid-50s. Again, showers, thunderstorms certainly possible throughout the day, a little bit of moisture, but that starts to die down around 3-4 o'clock. And things get better for us as we head into tomorrow night. So we will be talking about some drier times and a dry break, albeit a little cool, for Saturday. For the coast, we are looking at some of that unsettled weather again continuing for tomorrow, and then Saturday still kind of cool, but we get back close to average by Sunday. Inland, sun and clouds greet us Sunday with temperatures back towards the upper 60s, but we have to contend with that rain first. For the mountains, it's going to be snow for tomorrow, and then notice the cool pattern here lasting into Sunday and Monday. Once we get to the deserts, we will be a little bit drier, but there's still a chance for a few showers tomorrow. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Melissa Constanzer.
Today, San Diego County launched a campaign to improve birth and maternal health outcomes for African American families. Black infants and pregnant women are roughly 3 times more likely to die due to childbirth complications than their white counterparts. Dr. Wilma Wooten says the Black Legacy Now initiative should improve implicit health care biases toward Black mothers.
These disparities mirror state and national trends, are far higher for Black mothers compared to other racial and ethnic groups, and persist regardless of protective factors such as the mother's income, education, or prenatal care.
The county recently received additional state funding for the initiatives. Dr. Wooten says the first step is educating the public, followed by community-wide action. Now that the stay-at-home order has been lifted, the free pass on parking is ending. Starting tomorrow, parking regulations will be enforced again in the city of San Diego. That includes street sweeping restrictions, metered parking, time limits, and yellow commercial zones. You'll get a warning if you violate one of the rules for the next week, but as of February 8th, you'll get cited and fined. General Motors plans to be carbon neutral within the next 2 decades. GM said it will focus on offering zero-emission vehicles by 2035. The plan is to transition to battery electric vehicles or other zero-emission technologies by sourcing renewable energy. GM said it will offer 30 electric vehicles and aims to have 40% of all U.S. models run on battery by the end of 2025.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, help for health care. President Biden reopens the insurance marketplace, expanding enrollment amid the pandemic. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Breaking news, pioneering performer Cicely Tyson has died. The Emmy and Tony-winning actress distinguished herself in theater, film, and television. She was also nominated for an Oscar for her role in The Sounder. Cicely Tyson was 96. Here's another look at today's top stories. San Diego County is working to streamline the vaccination appointment process after hearing complaints from many people having trouble signing up. Right now, only those 65 and older, healthcare workers, and other first responders are eligible. Soon, all appointments for county sites will be booked through the My Turn platform. And a new vaccination superstation is launching this Sunday at Cal State San Marcos. And an Army veteran from Coronado is facing charges for his alleged role in the riot and breach of the U.S. Capitol. Jeffrey Alexander Smith was arrested yesterday and appeared in court today. According to the FBI, he was identified through text messages as well as pictures and videos uploaded to social media. Smith was released on $25,000 bond. Thank you for joining us. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley. And by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.